According to this portrayal of Ra's al Ghul, he's this consequentialist, by any means necessary, just ends justify the means, replace evil with death. So pretty much he's just like a mirror kind of what Oliver was in the first season, where he's just kind of like the psychopath killer, except that he's kind of taken a step further, where he's kind of taken his ideology and he's made this kind of weird cult around it. So another group that shares this ideology, this similar kind of by any means necessary ends justify the means kind of mentality, is Argus. And notice that Argus and uh, Oliver and Team Arrow and everyone can be allies while still not seeing eye to eye on things, on their methodology. Yeah, why is the league any different? Why? I I mean, the only real difference that I can think is that the league's some kind of weird ancient cult or something, and Argus is a government affiliated group. Well, that's it. That's the only real difference I can think of. I mean, it just seems like these writers and everyone, they just needed to get Green Arrow and Ra's al Ghul into a fight, and you'll see, once we get into the second half of the season, that that is in fact the case. Like the whole season, the whole villain plot, where I said where we eventually get to a point where Ra's al Ghul is a mustache twirling villain, and there's a big destroy the city plot, and there's a big final showdown with Ra's al Ghul and Green Arrow in the finale. That hinges on them having a fight in this episode. But notice how fucking convoluted and ridiculous it was just to get them to that point. So it's just like the league and Oliver, they should have like a similar relationship as Argus does with Team Arrow, and that it's like they maybe have kind of an uneasy alliance. Like they don't agree with each other's methods, but at the end of the day, Ra's al Ghul said in this episode, replacing evil with death and stuff. Okay, Oliver maybe want to replace evil with death, but they're both going after bad guys, right? No reason for them to be at odds. So you fat fucks on YouTube thinking you're all clever, like ha ha ha, Kingpin is a Spider-Man villain, ha ha ha. It's a universe of characters. And this bullshit about how apparently people like me are only criticizing Ra's al Ghul as a villain because he's a Batman villain. No, it's because he's just not a good villain. It's not that he doesn't make for a good villain, but under the right circumstances he make a good villain. But it makes no sense for Green Arrow and Ra's al Ghul to ever come at odds with each other, other than the little run-ins they had with each other last season, which more had to do with like, again, the methodology stuff, where they kind of just disagreed, and League had this strict code that they always had to enforce. And it kind of came at odds with like Black Canary and Team Arrow and things. But he shouldn't be like a big bad, like a mustache twirling big bad type villain. Um, so with that in mind, where I said, well, I guess there was some kind of ancient cult or something. What exactly is the fucking League of Assassins? Can somebody tell me? Because in season 2, it's never really quite explained. Because all the League does in this show is they do League stuff. They attend to League business. That's all they do. They just do stuff that involves Merlin and Black Canary and Oliver. And apparently they take in these downtrodden people and turn them into assassins. That's it. That's all we know. That's all we fucking know. Excuse me, guys. I'm not one of these fucking, I don't have a whole collection of fucking Batman comics I fucking jerk off to like you guys do. I'm not fucking Kevin Smith here. What the fuck is the League of Assassins? They never explain, other than this episode where, Ra's al Ghul gives his grandiose speech about replacing evil with death. What the fuck do they do? Why do they exist? In the comics, they're these, like, eco-terrorists. That's not here. In the Nolan movies, the League of Assassins, which they're called the League of Shadows there, they're like this group that destroys corrupt societies and things. But hey, I mean, what do they do here? I'm reminded of another TV show, Burn Notice, where there was kind of similar, in a way, kind of type group. They're like the main antagonist for most of the show, where they're kind of like the anti-CIA. They're not even ever really given a name either. But at one point, they recruit the Michael character, the protagonist of the show, to fight this bad guy in the fourth season. And at least that kind of gives us an idea of what they do. Like, we get to see the bad guys that that group goes after. So it's a similar situation where it's Michael disagrees with the methodology, but they both go after bad guys. They just do it differently, and from that, a lot of conflict arises and things. So, I mean, at least there's a kind of like you get an idea of what they do, other than fucking be an adversary for the protagonist. Here we don't have that. There's just vague. Oh, we fight evil and replace it with death. Okay. We need a bit more meat there, guys. We need a little bit more than that. So I think that pretty much sums up most of my thoughts on this episode. You might be saying, I focused a lot on the Merlin plot and all that shit. I didn't focus on the other stuff, but really, what else, the hell else happens on this episode? We get more of the DC's Iron Man bullshit. That's, what a coincidence. Felicity fucking making friends with another superhero. And then we got some shit with Laurel where her mom's apparently a fucking psychopath or something. Okay. Yeah. I mean, other than that, nothing really going on in this episode. And the reason why I put such emphasis on the big Merlin evil scheme is that it's the culmination, as far as the main plot of this season, it's the culmination of all the episodes leading up to this one, and it's important to all the other episodes following it. And if that sucks, and you got a shitty foundation to build on, you can only imagine how bad the second half gets. I mean, the only rationale I can kind of think of would help kind of make this make sense is if Merlin blackmailed Oliver knowing that Oliver was going to lose and that it was part of a revenge plot to get Oliver killed. But it's not played like that. It's played like Oliver is supposed to win. That Merlin genuinely expects Oliver to defeat Ra's al Ghul. Why? He has no reason to believe that. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just stupid, stupid. Um, yeah. So again, and it's also again we're cheapening we're gimping, nerfing, uh, castrating, whatever you want to say. Um, the League of Assassins. At this point, we might as well call them the friggin' the League of Putties, because especially in the later half of the season, since we start using them more and more as villains, of course they're gonna get naturally depowered, which shouldn't happen, but yeah, because we get Laurel fucking beating them up after a few boxing lessons. Uh, the League of Putties. We might as well call fucking Ra's al Ghul Lord Zed because he ends up being degraded into a mustache trolling villain. Unlike this episode, where he's actually written well. And then we got Green Arrow Ranger, fucking Tommy Oliver Queen. So, the show's just like so much like fucking some weird cross between like Power Rangers and like WWE wrestling and fucking Sons of Anarchy. Some weird clusterfuck of amalgamation of fucking things that just don't work or just very kind of weird and doesn't appeal to me anyway. Oh, so yeah, I think that's all I gotta really say. I mean, if I had to grade this episode, it would be obvious F. Worst episode of this type of show I've ever seen, hands down. 0 out of 10. Whatever. I don't know what everyone wants to give grades and shit. Jeremy Johns, he actually gave this season of Arrow a pretty good review. If I was using his grading scale, I'd say this fucking episode was dog shit. So yeah. So next up, I'm gonna be speaking about what I would have done instead in Arrow season 3. And I never claimed to be a writer. I'm not a writer, but like George Lucas, I think I'm a good idea guy. So, but I'm going to be working with a couple of restrictions. Now, at the end of season 2, in the flashbacks, we know that Oliver ends up in Hong Kong with Amanda Waller, so I'm going to have to work within those confines. And also, I'm going to be working with the idea that Sarah gets murdered and there's a murder mystery. Which, I don't agree with. Like I said, what I would have done is keep Sarah alive, then have Laurel become a Black Canary of her own, then have Sarah become a member of the Birds of Prey, then have her as the Black Canary that hangs around with the Birds of Prey and does Birds of Prey stuff, then have Laurel the one that hangs around with Oliver and has the relationship with Oliver and stuff. That's what I would have done. Because why can't you have both of them alive? Huh? No. Oh, and spoilers. Yeah. If this wasn't enough of a convoluted fucking fuck you to the audience, big fucking mess. Sarah gets in this Legends of Tomorrow show that's premiering mid-season this coming television season. Sarah gets resurrected by fucking Lazarus Pit. So it turns out that Sarah didn't even die. Fuck you, show. Fuck you. So this is all pointless. This is all fucking pointless. She didn't even die. Holy crap. And I guess now she's going around calling herself White Canary, even though there is a White Canary in the comics, but it's a totally different character. But whatever, this is their interpretation. Yeah, so look forward to that. Like I said, never claimed to be a writer. This is just gonna be a rough outline. Like, this is me on the whiteboard, just like these people. Except, before I make this video, I want to make sure everything makes sense. Unlike these writers, I actually want to take the time to go over and make sure everything makes sense and adds up. Unlike the writers of Arrow, quote-unquote writers, who don't really write. They just make an underwritten Batman show instead of writing a Green Arrow show like they were fucking hired to do. So, yeah. So, just kind of a brief outline of what I would have done, at least through the first half of the season. Then, just a framework that you can build off from, and I'm incorporating a lot more elements from the Green Arrow comics because, hey, it's a Green Arrow fucking show, but, they can't seem to do the Green Arrow stuff. They want to do fucking Batman shit. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing next video, so look forward to that.